Good morning and welcome to your Partner in Success Radio. I am your host, Denise Griffitts, and this podcast has been bringing you conversations, with authors, entrepreneurs, mentors, and business leaders for almost 18 years now. We turn 18 in January next year. Geez, a couple months from now. And we are honored to be ranked in the top 1.5% of podcasts, 1.5% of podcasts worldwide. And today I'm really excited. I get to welcome Jackson Wightman. He is the founder of the PR agency Proper Propaganda, and I love that name. I'm going to ask about it. And he is the author of the best-selling book, the Tech PR Playbook, and that is in front of me right now. Jackson is a recognized thought leader in the intersection of technology, public relations, and artificial intelligence. And his expertise focuses on how AI is transforming PR, media visibility, and brand credibility in today's fast-changing digital world. And today we are sponsored by me. We're sponsored by your Partner in Success Radio Preferred Partner Program. If you're a business owner, author, or service provider looking to expand your visibility and credibility through podcast sponsorships and guest appearances, visit yourpartnerinsuccessradio.com, or better yet, call me directly toll-free at 888-719-6711 to learn more how you can become a preferred partner and connect with hundreds of thousands of listeners across the globe and across industries who value expertise, authenticity, and result. So now let's get back to Jackson. He is a passionate person who is very passionate about helping tech companies and startups optimize their PR strategies. I'm losing my voice. For AI-powered search and new digital discovery patterns. He champions performance-based PR models that tie agency success directly to measurable results, and he'll tell you about that. He also shares valuable insights on how brands can rethink storytelling, important, position their customers as heroes, equally as important, and future-proof themselves in an era dominated by AI-driven media shifts. So good morning, Jackson. It is so good to have you here. This is a topic I am fascinated with. And thank you for sending me your book. It is in front of me as we speak.
It is a pleasure to chat with you, and very happy that there's a copy of the book in your library.
Oh, it is. Listen, and I'll tell anybody who will listen, I'll read the back of a cereal box, and I'm looking around 3 different bookcases in this room in my command center office. I'm out of room. I mean, now I've got a big basket where the overflow is. I need another wall, but I'm not going to build a new house. So it is what it is. But that you're right. This is very much part of my entrepreneurial library.
Too many books is a great problem to have.
Oh, there's no such thing as too many books. Not in my world. But
We are in agreement on that, I'll tell you.
yeah, I will read anything. Listen, I would love to know a bit more about you beyond your work in tech PR. How do you like to show up in the world? And this is important. What key message do you want people to walk away with after hearing your story and reading your work?
It's a great question. A few things. How do I like to show up in the world? I like to show up in the world very multifaceted, ideally. So work is very important to me. Work is very important, I'm sure, to many people listening to this podcast, but a rounded life is my guiding light, trying to live a rounded life, trying to show up for the people that are close to me in a present and authentic way is important. And trying hard to keep in mind that there are various forms of wealth, not just monetary wealth, not just career success kind of wealth, but that there are various forms of wealth, and trying to kind of live a life that hits on all of them.
And I understand what you're saying. Health is wealth, family is wealth. The connections that you have and continue to stay in touch with, that's wealth. Look,
Time is wealth, I think.
time, absolutely.
Curiosity is wealth, in my view. And I know that you're a very curious person, Denise.
Very.
I am too. And I think it's very important to try and hone curiosity and try to ask questions at every step and try to not just settle into kind of patterns and routines that continue, on indefinitely. It's important to kind of occasionally break routine and occasionally explore new things and be uncomfortable, try things that we haven't tried.
I had a coach many, many years ago when I had my first coach, and she was a very nice lady. I don't even remember her name, it was that long ago. But she was listening to me probably whine and cry about something. I think she got sick of me, but she was very quiet, and I thought, "Oh, she just hung up on me," and I don't blame her. And she said, "Denise, what are you tolerating?" That changed everything.
It's an excellent question.
Yep.
And I think it applies. What are you tolerating from the external world? What are you tolerating potentially from people in your orbit? But it's also what are you tolerating from yourself? And what do
Mostly,
you
yeah,
perhaps need to
yeah.
get past?
Yeah, I
Stop
was
tolerating and
living
say we're closing the chapter.
right, if you start identifying what you're tolerating here, there, and yonder, you'll probably identify that you're living a pretty small life. If that's what you
Mm,
want, that's good, but if it's not what you want, start working on yourself.
yeah. And look broad, look far, look to where you don't expect to look.
Right. Listen, you have had quite a journey from getting fired to becoming an entrepreneur and a PR expert. Can you share how that experience shaped your approach to business and leadership, and when did this all start for you?
Absolutely. So I began my career in politics and I worked on the issue management team of somebody who would become Prime Minister of Canada. It was a very, very interesting way to learn about media. I would say for listeners that aren't familiar with Canada, our politics are a little less polarized than some other places, perhaps a little bit less polarized than American politics, certainly. But it was still a really interesting environment in which to learn about media and learn about how media works. And why was it interesting? Because I think the political realm is such a pressure cooker. It's always on. It's always very adversarial. Media and politicians don't have easy relationships typically. And so it was a great place to learn. From there, I went to the corporate world and I worked for a very large producer of events. Company was based in LA, and it was very interesting to kind of work with people down there and experience that culture. And it was a great job. I had a wonderful position. I had a nice salary. I had all the trappings of what a good job looks like in a textbook, but I was not necessarily especially happy. And I think that came out in a few ways. One way was that I really wasn't the best employee, and I am really not all that employable, I don't think.
You and me
And
both.
eventually,
You don't
yeah,
want me in your office. I don't play well with others.
no, I think that some people, there's this, obviously it's a scale. There's a scale from people who are made to be employees to people who are made to be entrepreneurs. And that's a sliding scale, like many scales in life. But I sit firmly on the entrepreneur side of that scale. And I was sort of forcing myself to be a square peg in a round hole, to use the old adage. And eventually it came out. And eventually my petulance and my, disagreeability as an employee bore out. And my boss at the time called me and he said, "We are letting you go." And I think I had a sort of, a reaction around security and all the things that one would at that time. And he said to me, "Dude, you should probably not, you should own your own business. You shouldn't own a piece of somebody else's business. You should not build a fiefdom within a company as you tried to do in mine. You should build your own company." And the words really resonated. And the next day, I started Proper Propaganda. And this gentleman, who I still think about often because he changed my life dramatically, he became my first client. So we got fired and we were able to secure our first client the next day, who was the former employer. And it has gone, it has gone from there. It has gone from there. There have been ups and downs. The business was founded in 2012. So, from the perspective of PR, we've lived through a few different revolutions, I think. We've lived through caught the tail end of mobile, which was interesting, the shift to kind of the mobile internet and what that meant for people. Then we caught the sort of Internet of Things era, which was really interesting, and everybody was, trying to make a kettle or a kitchen knife internet enabled, which was interesting, or app enabled. It was a little bit of overkill. And now, as you alluded to in the green room, now we are in the age of AI, and I can say unequivocally that AI has been the most dramatic shift in my career and the most impactful thing on the realm of PR. I am old enough to remember kind of Internet One. I am old enough to remember a few things, but I would say AI is seemingly having the most dramatic impact. So that's a long answer to my journey. It's been a really fun journey. And I think, like a lot of other people in marketing and PR, I am extremely invigorated and bullish and positive on the future. I don't think AI is coming to eat us all. I think there are
No,
obviously,
it's
there's
not.
a range. It's not, right? There's a
It's a
range of really
tool,
bad. It's a tool.
right?
Exactly. There's
Remember
a
when
range of really
everybody,
bad behavior.
yeah, remember when everybody got their first computers? I remember when I got mine. I didn't know the first darn thing about it, but I was fascinated. But I taught myself very, very quickly if I break it, I can fix it. So
That's right.
don't stop and don't go, like you just, you got in front of a train and it's coming and you're frozen, you can't move. Just jump in.
I like what you said. It is a tool. And I think there's been, I can't say more, but there's definitely been as much doomsday rhetoric around this tool as, there was around, say, internet when it first kind of came out and things like that. But you're right. It's a tool, and it's a tool that I think for a lot of us is not that hard to jump in on, as you alluded to. And jumping in is a very low barrier to entry, and you can just play around a bit. And I think after playing around for a few months, it becomes really a lot less scary than it was for people who, haven't played around with it, haven't jumped in the pool.
Oh, I jump in all the time. I love it. I like Perplexity better than Chat GPT, but I use Perplexity for research and it's
I find it,
phenomenal.
it's a great research assistant, isn't it?
Mhm.
I am a fan of, I'm on the Perplexity bus with you for research. I use Claude a little bit. I use ChatGPT a little bit. And one of the things that's really interesting, I think, is these AI companies have obviously come out. They have varying levels of user base. I think ChatGPT has the biggest user base, certainly bigger than Claude and Perplexity. But it's funny. People have different relationships to different engines, and I'm never quite sure why and how those form. I, like you, view Perplexity as my research assistant, but my wife views it as something different. And it's just interesting to see what people attach and affix to each of these engines because there's quite a lot of variance in my experience.
Oh, yeah. I had a fight with ChatGPT not so long ago. I was needed it to help me rewrite some code for a website that I was building that I
Mm.
probably shouldn't have never it was the website was in WordPress.com, which I don't ever work with, and had I known that, I would not have taken on the job, but, curiosity and just sheer pig-headedness got me through it, but I was relying on chat to help me rewrite some of this code to get past WordPress.com's firewalls, if you will. And it got tired of me asking. I think it kept giving me the same garbage code over and over again. And I got mad. I called it a chat and I said, "Stop it. Just stop it. You are ticking me off. I'm not talking to you anymore." And this is no joke. It came back with, "I'm sorry, Denise. I'm going to go to bed now." And it hung up on me, basically. So
That's
then
so funny, but
I went to Perplexity and asked the same question, got the code. It's like, yeah, there you go.
it's so funny how it does occasionally get that sort of hired intern at the end of the day type vibe where you're like, okay, you gotta go take a nap, dude, or something. Like this
Yeah,
is
yeah,
you're getting we're getting to where clearly you've had enough influence for the day. No more of these for you.
exactly. And I looked at that and I went, that little bastard hung up on me. I did say that out loud. And then
You
I
know,
laughed and went, over to Perplexity, and I finished the site. It turned out beautifully, but oh my goodness. But yeah, AI is not going away, and if you use it with, you know, thought and dignity, don't curse at it, it doesn't like it. But, if you use it properly or learn to use it, it's amazing. And let's go back to what we were talking about in the virtual green room because AI can create some low barriers to entry. And specifically, I was talking to you about podcast bookers. There's one in particular, I'm not gonna tell y'all who it is, but it won't go away. It constantly I mean, I get emails around the clock, and when they figured out that I've blocked them on one email, they just pop up with another email. They drive me crazy. I mean, it
it's
really
terrible. I mean,
bothers me.
and I sympathize, and I think probably many, many people have stories like yours and versions of stories like yours, because obviously what an AI does, and I think like a lot of tools, it enables bad behavior at scale. And we are in still, I think, the Wild West phase
Oh, yeah.
where a range of nefarious actors are using it in ways that are just ultimately boneheaded, because you're not going to respond to that annoying booker who sends you the vanilla messages full of, M dashes and that chat GPT writing cadence that we all know. You're not going to respond to that, but it allows people to pump this stuff out at scale unseen before. And so they'll try it because why not throw as much at the wall as you can and just hope to heck some of it sticks?
But I have to tell you, with this particular group of people, I'm fine, and, I'm connected with a lot of other well-known podcasters, and we chat, we have coffee chats. We're like, "Have
Mm.
you what are you talking to this person? How" and they'll ask me now, you know, not real often, but I'm getting questions about, "What do you know about this group? Stay away from them." And I'll tell them why. They're
And
they're
that's what
picking it
happens.
up. They're understanding that this isn't real.
And this is exactly it. It's this boneheaded, counterproductive behavior enabled by AI. And think about the results. I mean, you're talking to podcasters who are at your level of podcasting, large audiences. It's a small percentage of the podcasts out there that you are in, and these entities that are doing this sort of stuff are literally just shooting themselves in the foot, because of course people talk. Of course people talk to people like them, and I think it's just, again, the lure of we can do this at scale and we can do it in 1/10 of the time that we used to has kind of enabled this boneheaded thinking that hopefully will resolve, but it may or may not. As we know, there's a lot of boneheaded thinking that never gets resolved. But yeah, that's certainly something that's happened with AI. And I think more and more we are starting to see that there are very things LLMs are really good at, things that they are less good. I'm not going to go to AI for a piece of public facing writing. I'm going to use it to draft a couple of bullets or an outline or something like that. But I'm not going to go to it if we have to write a press release for a client and just pump it out of Chat GPT and then show it to a client. We wouldn't have that client for very long
Oh,
as a client
no.
if we did so.
You're right. And listen, I use ChatGPT for writing ideas. I'm writing a book about, podcasting as marketing. I was
Hmm.
told that I had to, and I'm easy to get along with. Sure I am. I fight with my nav system. She's not the boss of me. But anyway, and I've started using not necessarily chat or even perplexity, but give me some ideas. This is what I'm thinking. Can you flesh this out for me? And then I go write it on my own. But it will give me
Yeah.
ideas like, "Ooh, I didn't even think about that. Thank you." And then off I go.
That's what it's good for. And that's obviously something you have developed in conjunction with the LLM and you're used to using it that way. I mean, that's certainly something we do at our agency. It is good for outlines, as you were alluding to. I find it is good for research. You have to be careful. You have to be overseeing that what the output is and double checking things and all that because as you were alluding to both on the podcast and the green room, this stuff makes mistakes. It makes mistakes often, particularly if you tire it out seemingly. But that's I think what it is good for. A lot of the stuff that it's really bad at was the stuff that folks were doomsday about when this first emerged in 22, 23, whenever that is. ChatGPT for covers comes out end of 22, early 23. And I think it's good news for us all that it really does suck at a range of things, to put it bluntly. And it is good at other things, but you have to know the difference.
You do. And I will take something, I may have written it or the query was in chat, and it'll give me something, that looks good, but let me check you, because I check everything. And I'll take whatever it was that it gave and I'll take it to Perplexity. Is this true? Some of it is. Most of it is. No, none of it is. So, cross purpose. Don't just say, oh, this is good. This sounds like me. And then plunk it out there because you will get caught. Maybe not right away, but eventually you will. And I wanted to talk about, we're just kind of wandering around. I'm having fun. Let's talk about your agency. Tell me about the name on that. How did that come to be?
So we wanted, we are a serious agency. We do real work, but we wanted, we have a little bit of a vibe and an ethos that is maybe a little less self-serious, I would like to think. It's a little tongue-in-cheek. It's a little playful. And we came up with the name based upon that. I am not a fan of Nazi dictators or communism or any of those things, but I had seen some woodblock art in China, some Cultural Revolution era art. I'd seen some stuff in Vietnam, some stuff in when I was in Korea, and always kind of just liked the art, found the art interesting, found the process of how that art was made interesting. And so we definitely wanted to include the word propaganda again, partly because it was a little bit of an artistic spark, not because we are fans of the regimes behind that art, but because we found the art itself interesting and the process around it interesting. And because we wanted to be a little tongue in cheek, I think one of the things that you and certainly your listeners will probably know about the PR industry is that it's pretty self-serious. It it's pretty sure that it's got the answers and it's pretty sure of itself. So we wanted to try and run a little counter to that and just have a little fun.
And propaganda at its root is meant to be persuasive.
That is the core. That is
Right.
the person who's often cited as the founder of modern PR is a guy named Edward Bernays, and Edward Bernays absolutely talked about what you just said. That
Hmm.
this is the art of persuasion. I think it is an art a little bit. It is a little bit of a science. It is a little bit of a framework, PR. But yeah, at the end of the day, it is meant to persuade. And this is an era, we are in an era, I think, where that is becoming harder and harder for the reasons you and I talked about in the green room. One, there's just this fragmenting of sources and information. And two, modern humans of all ages, not just Gen Z, are attention deficit. It's hard for people to pay attention to things very long. So the craft of PR has definitely gotten more interesting and definitely gotten also harder. And we see that every day in our work at the agency. And I think one of the ways to break through and one of the ways to kind of mitigate or hedge against that reality, hedge against this sort of macro environment where people are bombarded by messages but have no attention span, is to be in many places at once and to be in, you know, many, many channels, not just buying TV or buying billboards or, getting articles in the local newspaper, but to be in many places because people are in many places.
And you're talking about, people are fragmented and, being everywhere all the time also leads to what I consider to be a very huge problem is the slow death of critical thinking.
It
They don't
is.
take the time to say, "I don't know about this, let me go look a little further." They just go, "Okay, that's good," and then move on to the next shiny object.
It seems to be a virtue, a product also of these echo chambers. You know, the idea that, and I'm not advocating for one side or the other, but the most obvious and most egregious example of this, I think, is Democrats and Republicans. These people inhabit
I agree
different
with you.
media
Y
planets, different planets.
You're speaking my language. Listen, politicians, as far as I'm concerned, for the most part, 99.9% of them are not human. There's something wrong with them. Okay, I'm done. You keep talking.
Oh, I love it. I love why I work in politics. That's where I come from. So I think I'm laughing. It takes to find some knowledge, and maybe your remark is bringing up some memories I have of cyborg-like behavior from these politicians. But it absolutely, just to come back and reinforce your point, I think the death of critical thinking is often one of the main sources for that. And one of the main reasons for it is that people inhabit these bubbles, particularly in terms of the media and the content they consume, and they don't step outside of it. And that really makes people dig in, and makes people's opinions harden and stuff. And it's not a great scenario. The other
No, they
thing,
lose curiosity. They lose critical thinking. They lose curiosity. They're just walking around going, "Well, I saw it on CNN." Well, good for you. Go away.
dude, bro, I saw
You
on
go now.
CNN. That's one version of the world, and yet Fox is a whole different version of the world. And
Right.
it's just people just dig into their little bubbles. And I agree with you that the death of critical thinking has been with us for a long time. It's obviously dying a slow death. It's not fully dead, but it's definitely something on the decline, which is very unfortunate. And I think it's very unfortunate, if I may say so. No, I own a PR firm. Our firm has grown and is growing right now. We're in a really fun phase of growth, and the entrepreneurs listening will know that growth is a great thing. Growth is fun and gangly and challenging and sometimes terrifying all at once. We have to try and hire young people. And I think sometimes because people are living in bubbles, because there's a short attention span, it's harder and harder to foster that critical thinking in the young. There's sometimes an over reliance on AI for answers, and it's great if you have the experience and you've gotten the reps in at whatever it is you do, and you can critically look at AI and go, wait a minute, ChatGPT's hallucinating here, or it's wrong here. That is great, as you can do, as I can do, because we're deeper into our careers. But if you're just coming out of university and all you've used to pass your exams and write your essays is AI, you're not going to have the critical thinking and the experience and the sort of muscle mass, if you will, to critically evaluate its outputs. And that's when, these foot and mouth disasters occur.
Can you get them to just turn their phone over or shut it down? Or is that just I know, never mind. It was a silly
It's they're I can make a pig fly, I think.
I knew it was stupid when I said it. I admit it. So, I wanted to talk with you. You're gonna have to come back. I warned you about this in the virtual green room. This hour is
I
not going to
appreciate
be
it. I
enough.
appreciate it.
Okay, and you can't tell me no because I did it on the radio. So, through but you've shared with me that Gen AI is impacting PR in big ways. Generative AI. So how is that changing the future of public relations and brand storytelling? I'm fascinated by storytelling.
My favorite topic of the day. So Gen AI and PR are really having this. They're doing this wonderful tango together, these two realms. And at the end of the day, I think the outputs of PR influence Gen AI a lot. So earned media, particularly journalistic sources of earned media, is cited and scraped in around 50% of AI answers. And these are aggregate numbers. These are not, that's going to vary based on company or industry. But in aggregate, journalistic sources are the key citation group for what gets surfaced when you query ChatGPT on what is the best laptop to buy, or what are the best Black Friday deals, or whatever it is. So the output of PR is incredibly important to Gen AI. Against that, so against in kind of a concomitant at the same time happening sort of way, more and more people are using LLMs and Gen AI as their gateway to the internet. So you have this situation where people are going away, moving away from Google's sort of, blue link page that we've all used for 20 plus years.
Oh, I
And they're
moved a long
going to
time
be,
ago. Yeah, as soon as I
yeah,
could, I got away.
that's it. And I think that's a lot of people. And that's a lot of people who are maybe a little more forward thinking. But the rise of AI search, the rise of LLMs as the sort of gateway to the internet is very much underway. March of this year was the first time Google had dropped below 90% of the search market. So while Google's blue link business is still a good business, AI search is absolutely in ascendance. And I think your listeners would know that on a personal level, but the statistics bear it out as well. PR and PR outputs are the main material for sourcing AI answers. And so that has really, really changed the game for PR, and it's catapulted it into a realm that it's never really been in before. PR is often the sort of annoying middle child who doesn't get a seat at the table, and it's not, the corporate leaders think it's a nice to have, and it's always kind of had that reputation, and also had a reputation as a cost center, not as a place that creates value or sort of drives the bottom line. In AI search, the over reliance of AI search on the outputs of PR has really catapulted the discipline and this area into a different realm that it hasn't been in before. So that's a long answer, but it's really given the business, the industry, and the practice of PR a shot in the arm.
That makes sense. Tell me what earned media is. I don't think I understand the term.
My bad. I am jargoneering, which is something we try to
Look,
avoid in
I'm a
PR,
web
but
developer. I had to teach myself how to talk like a human, so I get
it's
it.
you are a very human talking web developer. You are excellent at it. Earned media means basically coverage that is earned. So it is not bought. It is not paid
Oh,
for.
okay, got
And
it.
when we think of earned media, we think of, if I have a client who makes keyboards, let's say, and I send a keyboard to the Wirecutter New York Times or something, and they review that keyboard and they say, well, it's 4 out of 5 stars and it's a good keyboard and you should buy it if you are in this situation. That coverage is not paid for. That coverage is earned. And the thing about earned coverage, it rarely reads like a company's copywriting or marketing department wrote it, because journalists need to be balanced and they need to theoretically tell the truth. It doesn't always work that way, as we all know. But
Theoretically, that's a good word.
theoretically. So that's what earned is. And earned is valuable typically because it is earned, because we know that if The Verge is going to review the new iPhone, that they have independence about them, that they have mechanisms for testing iPhones. So earned is often seen as a very trusted thing by consumers. And Nielsen has run this survey called Trust in Advertising for decades now. And earned media usually ranks just below recommendations from friends as a source of, hey, I'm going to go purchase this. So that's what earned
Right.
is, and that's why it's valuable.
Kind of like reviews.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I do this with my podcast. I mean, right after we get through talking, I'll call you in a bit and get you set up for April or May, whenever I'm booking again. But what I do, and this is kind of tricky, so any podcasters who are listening, pay attention to this. Ask your guest to write a review that day while it's fresh, while they enjoyed the conversation. Don't wait 3 weeks down the road because they don't remember your name.
That's right. And those are those are very powerful things. People put trust in those sorts of
Right.
things.
They
People,
do.
while we do live in a fragmented media universe, as we were saying, while people do still, the Democrats are on one side and having one plan, the Republicans over here. When Consumer Reports says, you know what, this car is a good car, we endorse it. People believe them. So there's there's still a fairly high degree of trust in these sources. Not in all sources, but in certain sources, and that's why PR is important, along with its intersection with the world of AI, which is this new frontier of reputation, this new frontier of discovery to the internet.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of it that way. But while you're talking about reviews, I mean, instantly what comes to mind is Amazon.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
honestly, I wish, and I don't ever go into Walmart. They deliver every Saturday. But if I were in a store, I'm an introvert. I try not to go anywhere if I can avoid it. I'm not shy. I don't have any filters. I'm just an introvert. But if I am in a store, let's say Home Depot, just for the heck of it, and I'll see something that's like, okay, this is this price. Yeah, but tell me more about it. So I will literally in the store go to Amazon and read their reviews. Okay, never mind. Or okay, I'll buy it. I
And
think
that's a
a
lot
lot
of
of
people.
yeah, I mean, if you can find decent reviews because the store's not telling you a darn thing other than what the price is, go for it.
And we all have had that experience where you hear about or learn about a product, and then you go visit Jeff Bezos at Amazon, and there's two reviews or three reviews and not 30 reviews. And you go, well, hold on a second. Am I sure? Because there's not a heck of a lot of reviews here. And that's something that I think most consumers have experienced themselves. And it speaks again just to the power of these things, particularly it speaks to the power of reviews in the context of e-commerce and internet shopping.
Exactly. And I'm going to have to buy a dishwasher pretty soon. Mine was never all that great, even though it was, I replaced it about 10 years ago. And
Oh,
I don't want to, I just don't want to. So at some point, I'm going to have to go look for reviews on whichever appliance I'm looking for because I'm not going to get caught again.
well, and that's the thing with these considered purchases, and I think this is the thing. Sometimes we have this conversation with our clients. Let's say we have a review that appears about a dishwasher, a client who makes a dishwasher, and they're reviewed in Wirecutter, or we get a running shoe client into Runner's World or something. Well, the clients will sometimes say, "Hey guys, great that you got us into Runner's World, and great that they reviewed our running shoes well, but we didn't see a lot of direct traffic, so it's hard to measure the ROI." And I think the reality is most people for for products that are, in that dishwasher or kind of expensive running shoe type thing. So these are higher priced items. These are considered purchases. Most people are going to need multiple touch points before they go ahead and pick the LG dishwasher or the Nike running shoe or whatever it is, because these are not a candy bar. These are not impulse buys. These are things that are important. They cost a lot. They are high impact if you get the purchase wrong, if you buy something that's not a fit for you. So this is what I'm saying. You need to be in multiple places because a lot of purchases are multi-touch point. And you're not just going to go look at one thing when you buy that new dishwasher. You're going
Oh,
to go
no.
probably consult a few sources.
I'm actually going to have to physically go to some stores. I want to make sure that I like the looks of it, that when I open it, it's going to do what I need it to do. I'm going to have to actually touch them, and I don't want to.
Right.
I
Oh,
really don't.
hey,
But
I mean,
it's
brace
gonna have to
yourself.
happen. Yeah, it's gonna have to happen. But I wanted to ask you, and we've been talking around this a little bit, but the landscape of PR and media is constantly evolving. I mean, from day to day, especially. I mean, I can open Google, and all of a sudden, I've got this new AI thing that I had to turn off. I don't want it in my Gmail. I don't want it. So, I think you have to be fully aware of what's popping up around you and decide if you want to look at it or get rid of it. So, what are some of the biggest challenges you've noticed recently? And how should companies adapt? Because they need to be aware of this, I think, And from what I'm hearing from you daily, not just, oh, we'll look at this on the new quarter. No, look at it today.
Yes. The single most important skill these days in the environment we are in the context of PR and marketing and reputation and how companies navigate this, the single most important thing is to be adaptable and then also to be curious because things are changing very, very fast. We're at a very dynamic moment. And you just need to understand that what you learned 2 months ago might not apply today because AI and these things are changing very, very quickly. So I think that's very important. Being adaptable and being curious because this is changing at a sort of breakneck pace, which is dizzying, even to those of us who are looking at this, thinking about this all the time. Outside of that, it's a really interesting time for media. So the media business, as you may have heard, and certainly as your listeners may have heard as well, is not really a great business to be in. Newsrooms are being diced in half. Private equity companies are buying up storied media properties, media brands, media outlets, and just slashing the heck out of them and, decimating the staff. And what that means is those who remain are under significant pressure to produce a lot more content than they were 10, 20 years ago, let's say.
And a
And
lot
there's
less
a lot,
propaganda. How about that?
right?
For an
There's
idea.
a lot. There you go. So there's a lot of pressure on these news organizations. There's a lot less staff to cover whatever propaganda you may want to put out there. But being out there and being covered in the right way has never been more important. So that's a huge challenge at the moment for a lot of companies. There's this, on the one hand, you want to be out there, you want to be out there in the right way, you want to be in places that AI is going to scrape because people are now discovering and using the internet a different way, and AI is the gateway. But these news organizations that you want to get into are shells of their former selves.
And I don't think most people are sorry about that, to be honest. People, yeah, I don't watch the news. I gave up on that. Look, I always knew it was propaganda. Even when I was a
Mm.
kid, I was paying attention, going, you guys are all saying the same thing. Do you get notes? Do you get PDFs? Where are you getting this information? It's all the same thing, just a different talking head spouting the talking points of the day. I don't pay much attention to them. I do get my news. I am very interested in what's going on in the United States and Canada, the rest of the world, but I don't get it from mainstream propaganda. I just refuse.
It's
And
it's
I
a
think a
really
lot of
interesting.
people are doing the same. They're like, no, no, I don't trust you.
But I think that's the case. You're absolutely right. The other thing is there are now, because there's been this proliferation of media and outlets. So whatever you are into, there's an outlet that specializes in that. And so if you want to, I'll pick a Louisiana example because I know I'm talking to somebody from Louisiana. If somebody's interested in the LSU Tigers football team, they don't have to read it and get the news about that from the daily paper in Baton Rouge.
No,
There
and they
are
don't want
a
to.
myriad, a myriad of websites that are going to be dedicated exclusively. All they cover all the time is Tigers football. So if that's what you like, if that's something that you happen to be into, you you go to those sources because they're really going to go deeper than the paper in Baton Rouge can. Likewise, if one is, I don't know, into needle pointing or crochet work or whatever it is, there are outlets that are covering these things, and they're
Same
covering
with,
these
go ahead.
activities in a very deep way.
Right. Same with cooking. Southwest
Right,
Louisiana is known for the quality of our cooking. If you can't
right.
cook, you can't live here. That's just all there is to it. And you can find anything about gumbo or jambalaya or fried crawfish or whatever you want to
Mhm.
find. And you don't even have to look that far.
No, it's fascinating, isn't it? It's fascinating, and I think this is they talk about the long tail of the internet and whatever interest you have, as far out as it may be, as abstruse as it may be, as obscure as it may be, there are probably other people who share this interest, and thus there are probably people who write about it, speak about it, podcast about it, whatever it is. So you can go and find this, and I think that's pretty cool. That's also a real challenge to those traditional all-in-one. We cover a little bit of everything type news organizations.
Right. And I agree with you. And listen, as a web developer, I have to walk away from my command center in here a lot. I have to walk off because I'm looking at the same piece of code going, uh, I think I'm
Right.
lost. And I will
Yeah.
literally, and I've been known to do this. I will start making a gumbo because I love to cook, and I will start making a gumbo, and I think in pictures, and I also think in HTML, which is why I had to train myself to speak like a human. And I can literally block out an entire website while I'm making a roux.
Denise, that is a very good. Both sides of your brain are doing it. If you can think in terms of HTML and also in
Yeah,
terms of pictures, I think
yeah,
that says a lot about the health of your synapses. Everything's going good up there.
I think so too. I have a lot of fun with it. I have to tell you, speaking of HTML, one time, yeah, and I'm a lucid dreamer on top of everything else. I'm not quite sane. Let's just get that out of the way. And I woke up very abruptly because I was dreaming in HTML, and for some reason, and I knew that I was doing something wrong because I had built a box and I split it in half, and then I kept moving that half point way over to one side. I was falling out of bed. My brain was trying to tell me that I was getting ready to roll out of my bed.
Oy,
I know that's
wow,
scary, isn't it?
that is scary. I mean, yeah, but good that it was at least giving you warning about that.
Yeah, I would have hit the side table and cried. So,
Oh,
yeah, I didn't
not
want a
a
big old
pleasant way. Not a pleasant way to wake up.
No, I didn't wanna have a big goose egg on my forehead. Okay, let's get back to you. Let's explain what zero-click search means for brand visibility, and why does it
Absolutely.
matter so much today? Because I have to tell you, that's another thing I'm not really up on.
So traditionally, 20 years, past 20 years, organizations were able to pay for space on Google, bid on keywords, bid on a range of things, and be in those first 10 blue links. And if you were in those first 10 blue links, there would be onward traffic to your landing page, product page, website, whatever it was. With AI, many of the searches, many of the answers produced by AI yield no further traffic. So people talk about Google Zero. They talk about this moment that may come in the future. It may not. We don't know for sure. But this moment where Google will not kick traffic forward. Most AI answers, including on Google, when you get the sort of Google AI overview, do not result in any further clicks. The numbers are staggering, like the numbers are under 5% type thing of AI searches result in further clicks. So it's a very, very different kind of internet. And a lot of systems, processes, online marketing departments have been set up for this old world of Google kicking traffic down the line and people showing up based upon the blue links they saw. We are entering a world, some hypothesize, and I believe that they are generally correct. We are entering a world where AI answers do not, at least for now, under the way they are produced now, kick more traffic down the road and lead to more traffic. So strategies built on, hey, we're a website and we have tons of traffic, or we need to have tons of traffic to make money, are seemingly going the way of the dodo bird. And that's putting the fear of God into a lot of marketing departments.
I bet. So, when you're working with clients, how do you ensure that your PR campaigns tell authentic stories that position customers as heroes in an AI-driven media world?
It comes about a few ways. Number one, we use a framework for storytelling when we work with clients on matters related to storytelling. We use a framework called StoryBrand.
I love
The
story brand. I know exactly what you're
Yeah.
talking about.
So you know Donald Miller. You know
Yep.
your listeners will know Donald Miller, some of them. And if they
Study his
don't,
work. Yeah.
it's It's a wonderfully simple framework. And the beauty of it, in my opinion, is that it casts the customer as the hero. And a lot of companies want to cast themselves as the heroes. And the reality is your customer doesn't care about that. Your customer wants the hero. They want their problem solved and they want you to be a helpful guide in solving this problem. So we typically will begin a mandate looking at existing storytelling through the lens of story brand. And if we need to make tweaks and changes, or if we need to build something from the ground up, we usually start there. After that, we often then look at a company's AI search presence. And we have a couple of tools for that. The tool that I would say is the best that we have seen so far for assessing how a company is showing up in AI search is a tool called Scrunch, as it sounds like scrunch, like scrunchy. Um, and once we've done that, once we've established, okay, here are 80 or 100 or 200 relevant prompts. Let's see how you're doing versus your competitors. Once we've established that and have a baseline for, okay, we're showing up here, but we're not showing up there, we devise a plan. And that plan typically involves pitching and getting into some media that are speaking and being scraped for, as material relevant to the prompts that a client is not in or is in. And it often also involves helping a client create some content that allows them to show up better in AI search. So it's really a multi-step process.
Did I lose you?
You need
Hold
to
on.
pitch to help the client with their presence. And what can we do on their owned media properties, on their website, on their blog, to create content that bolsters them?
So basically, what I'm excuse me, what I'm hearing you say is Google is, unless they make some big changes, they're kind of on the way out.
I don't think Google is on the way out because I think Google is already starting to, I forget the percentage, but a very high percentage of Google search queries precipitate and result in a Google AI overview. So
Really?
Google,
Aren't they a little
Google
bit
is,
late to the party though?
I think Google has, it's a behemoth with enough
Yeah, it is.
locked in traction, if you will, that I don't think it's going away. I don't even think the blue link business that it's relied on for 20 plus years is necessarily going away, but it's very clear that search is democratizing a little, that there are new players in search and they mean business and they intend to try and chip away. And it seems that the evidence is they are chipping away at Goliath's business.
I don't like Google. I never have. I don't know why. I just don't. I have a bias, so you can probably hear it. We are going to run out of time pretty quickly. And let me tell you that we haven't talked much about your book. And the next time you come in April or May of next year, I really want to have this book in front of me and go through it because I think it's an important book. Tell me why you wrote it.
We wrote the book for, we wrote the book because we talked to a lot of CEOs, founders, VPs of marketing who misunderstand PR. And when I say misunderstand PR, not the tactics or the details so much, but they misunderstand what the channel is meant to do and also what it is good at and what it is not good at. And often they think, I'm going to get in Wirecutter or the Wall Street Journal, and that's going to drive a ton of sales of my new widget. Well, PR is not very good at that typically. It can be, sometimes it works, but it's not really the best direct sales channel. And we heard over the years many founders, CEOs, VPs of marketing, the like, parroting this narrative that, oh, well, it doesn't work for this. And we want to write the book as a way to kind of set the record straight and as a way to kind of help people understand this is what this thing is for. It's not for this, but it's for this. And I think we got a little bit of the way there. One of the things about the book that was a little serendipitously unfortunate is that the book came out in March of 23. Well, guess what? In March of 23, ChatGPT was just starting its ascendance. So
It
anybody who
was.
goes and reads,
When you said that, I
anybody,
went, "Uh-oh." Got it.
yes. So anybody who goes and reads the book will notice the egregious omission of a chapter on AI. Now, we had to have the book to editors and publishers and all that, in late 22, as people who write books know, this is a process.
Right.
So we really were just a little early. However, that is every mistake is an opportunity. And that is, I think, an opportunity for us to write a second edition, which we
Mhm.
are planning to do.
I was gonna
And
ask, will there be another edition updated?
yeah, there certainly will, because there's this egregious sin of omission, especially from a guy who talks a lot about AI and PR. And you go and you see this book, and you're like, what, did that guy miss something? Did he have too many drinks, or was he smoking something, or what happened to him? But it really was just a question of timing. And hey, second edition will come.
Well, when it is, you let me know and I'll get you back out here. I wanted to this entrepreneur is intense. Like, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a solopreneur, I'm an A-type personality. I fight with my nav system, I run with scissors, I can be difficult. And entrepreneurship can be mind-numbingly intense. I mean, we have to have cast iron stomachs. So, how do
Mm.
you personally find balance and maintain your health while running a fast-growing agency like Proper Propaganda? I love that name, Proper Propaganda.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that you like the name, and it warms my heart. The How do I find the balance? I always was an athletic person. Um, Always enjoyed physical activity, and always make time for that. It's non-negotiable for me. So that's one way, is just keeping physical, keeping moving. The other thing is blocking off time to explore things I'm curious about that do not necessarily relate to PR. I like to read fiction a lot. Always make time for that. And that time is non-negotiable. No, no, nothing invades that time. Those are walls that are for me, that nothing gets through,
What kind of
because
fiction?
I like spy novels. I like I'm not really a sci-fi person, but I like spy novels very much. I like historical fiction very much.
Me too.
Uh, so that stuff is non-negotiable. And I think, as an entrepreneur, having non-negotiables is a very key thing, because you can just work all the time if you want to. You can just respond to another client's email, or go put out another fire. And once you put out the fires, there's just new fires to put out.
Oh, yeah, there's
So
embers left behind. You don't ever get away from it.
when you solve this problem, the pleasure and the reward is to solve now that problem. So that is a cycle that can continue endlessly. And I think I was able to, somebody that mentored me pointed that out very early in my journey, and said, you just have to build these walls that are impenetrable, because you can just keep working and endlessly work, and then your kids won't know your name, and you might have divorce lawyers on speed dial, or your spouse might, and a range of things will devolve very quickly if you don't do this. So the stakes are high if you cannot find the time, or block off some time to do these things and pursue your pursuits effectively. You're going to get into some trouble, and it's going to be serious.
Like you die serious.
Yeah.
You see that all the time. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today. And before we wrap up, do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to leave our listeners with? And where's the best place for people to connect with you and learn more about your work?
Final thoughts. I would say, if you get the opportunity to jump in and have a go at something that you deeply care about, a business, let's say, take it. If that opportunity is there, take the plunge. There's never going to be a perfect time. And if that opportunity arises, and after doing some analysis, you think you can make a go of it, do it. That's probably the final thought I would share. In terms of getting in touch, I am Jackson Wightman, Wightman on LinkedIn. The website is Proper Propaganda, as it sounds. So properpropaganda.net. The net's the tricky part. And we'd love to hear from you. There's a range of resources on the site, things that people can use and hopefully get some value out of. My LinkedIn I'm fairly prolific on LinkedIn. I publish a lot there, usually talking about PR and AI, a range of things that we've covered today. Those are the two best places. If somebody wants to email me, it's Jackson, as it sounds, Jackson at properpropaganda.net.
Got it. Well, listen, everybody, thank you for joining us today with Jackson Wightman. He is the author of the Tech PR Playbook and the founder of, I love this, Proper Propaganda. We covered how AI is changing PR, and we covered Jackson's inspiring journey from getting fired, which is not always a bad thing, to building a successful business. And if you want to stay ahead with tech PR and AI insights, check out his book, and his new book will be coming out soon, I hope. And like he said, go find him on LinkedIn. So if you like this episode, please subscribe, share it with your friends, and leave a review to help others find it. So stay curious. We use that word a lot today. And we will see you next time on your Partner in Success Radio. I am Denise Griffitts, and I will see you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Jackson, thank you so much. This was fascinating.
Thank you.
Get your voice heard. If you would like to launch your own far-reaching podcast, contact Denise Griffitts at yourofficeontheweb.com and go to the podcast tab.